Hey, what's up, everyone? Craig Sewing here with another episode of The American Dream. And this is a great show of powerful guests today, starting with David Collins. Now, this guy was a runaway, a homeless guy, got in a car wreck, was told he would never walk again. He is now someone who's done 42 marathons, who's done an Ironman, and just had a documentary created around his life. What a success story that's overcome adversity. All right, welcome back to the show. Of course, on The American Dream, we love to share stories, opinions, people that have overcome adversity. And with David Collins, the CEO of Real Marketing, we kind of get it all in one. Good to have you on the show.
Thank you. Nice to be here, Craig.
So where do we start with you? Just finished a documentary.
Yeah.
That's pretty exciting.
That was a 2.5-year project. It just chronologizes.
It's a tough
that
word,
word,
yeah.
It goes from start to finish. And it covers the first 50 years of my life, right back to, going all the way back to New Jersey and running away from home at 15 and ended up on the streets of LA and now running 3 companies.
Wow. So what is the context of the movie? If I'm the audience watching, what am I going to get out of it?
I think overcoming adversity.
Yeah.
I mean, if you dig, and I don't want to get into the particulars of a lot of abuse, ran away from home at 15 for good reason, ended up on the streets of Los Angeles, homeless at 25.
Wow.
And then started listening to some really great tapes by Brian Tracy, local guy, Long Beach. And
Eat That Frog.
Oh yeah,
yep.
every day. I didn't listen to music for years. I just, or watch TV. I just did that. And 23 years ago, I started Real Marketing in South Florida and sold it and built it here in 2007. And then we have that one, Distinct Displays, and California Vaping Company. So we have 3
Do you think
companies.
some of that adversity is what propelled you to be successful in the business world?
I think absolutely, and I think that one of the messages that I want to get out in the movie is really about how many of us hang our hat on adversity, challenge, drama, things that happen to us, whether just or unjust, and then they carry them into their current life, and it just really, to me, I think we all have an ending place. We all have a purpose, a greater purpose on this earth, and if we let those things get in our way, we never get there. And from what I hear, we get to do it again, but I'm not sure about that one. But I think for me, that is the biggest message in the movie, is that no matter how bad you think you had it, there's probably someone who's had it worse. I know there's people that had it worse than mine, and mine's not a pretty story by any means, that I've overcome. I'm running after shattering both my legs, which I was told was impossible. It's in the movie. I mean, literally 10
You can't
surgeries.
just throw that in there, right? So, the things that you've listed off so far, troubles at home, running away, being homeless, now you're talking about getting your leg shattered. So this relates to a motorcycle accident that you had. What year is this?
It's actually a car accident.
It was a car accident.
So I had 2004. I hit a wall head-on in a Corvette at 70 miles an hour. And the engine came back through and just literally shattered both my legs.
Wow.
And at the time, I was the 2-time defending champion at the Masters at the Disney Marathon. And they said I would never walk again. So ultimately, I went back 15 months later. And that year, I went in a wheelchair. And the following year, I went back and ran the race one more time.
A marathon.
Marathon. And then did the Ironman.
And then did the Ironman.
And then called it quits.
Fascinating. Well, I mean, total proof that you can overcome adversity.
Yeah.
Now, you're also in the business world now.
Correct.
So, well known in the marketing world, also the real estate world. You and I sat down recently, and I thought it was fascinating, some of the intel that you've gathered from the marketplace to actually have an opinion on the market as well. I mean, you really have just a wealth of knowledge. If you wouldn't mind just speaking to what you guys do at Real Marketing, and certainly any intel you can provide from being hands-on.
Yeah, I think that probably the biggest intel, and it always baffles me because I do a ton of reading, and that's how I got out of those situations in the past. But you know, NAR puts out phenomenal statistics, and I think and I've asked large audiences this simple question: in the real estate world, what is the #1 concern of a homeowner when listing a home? And nobody can answer the question, but it's right there. It's hyper-local, somebody who knows their neighborhood. So homeowners want to know that you've sold something in their neighborhood. Between me and the industry, I know that may not make a whole lot of difference, but that's what's #1 or important to them. And so what we've done is we've drilled down in 43 states and 5 provinces across Canada, now 6 provinces in Canada, hyper-local market reports that get directly mailed. And in this day, in social media and email, there's clearly nothing more effective. I think you know Greg Newman absolutely dominates the downtown market.
Yep.
Been a client of mine for 8 years. Yesterday he's going to take down another zip code, and I'm not going to disclose the zip code, because that's not good marketing practices. But if he has anywhere near the success he has in downtown in these new zip codes, it'll be great. Highly personalized piece, sending out direct mail these days without the actual homeowner's name in the body of text, called variable data. It's kind of like using a dial-up phone if you're using direct mail. So a lot of people have this adversity to direct mail because they don't know, or they've tried it and it's real poor quality. But as far as the market, our pulse on the market in this country, I travel 200 days a year. I have 3 million travel points, in the last 2 years. So I see so many different markets, and there are different nuances in each of those particular markets. But for all intent and purposes, you have a buyer and you have a seller.
Yep.
And they all want to accomplish the same thing.
So you curate a lot of content nationwide.
Oh, yeah.
What you're speaking to on the mail piece, I mean, you're speaking of marketing directly to the realtor, and I know we have a lot of people in the real estate community watch this show. As a consumer, as an everyday viewer of the program, all that curation of content, all that intel that you gather, what's it mean to me? Why should I care?
Great question. So this is for the consumer, and the response that we get. We actually get testimonials from consumers about marketing pieces that an agent put out, which is rare. But for the actual consumer, it's just like going to the mailbox or your email and getting your financial statement, your bank statement, your retirement account. That's what your home is. For many people, most of the consumers, that's their biggest asset. So we give them in a really simple, easy to read line item of actives, pendings, and solds that have gone on, and then graphs that show trends in that particular market, maps that correlate with that, and then we tie it to a website so if they want to further dive into it, they can. We give them special events, schools. So in a single location, the homeowner can go, boom, all right, my honey house is going up and going down, and that's the information they really want. So many people in our industry send out silly things to try and add value, and the intent is really good there, right? I'm going to send you a coupon, a recipe, or whatever to add value, but it's not branding the industry properly or the agent. Because when I think of you, I only think of one thing: the American dream. Right? You haven't ever branded in any other way.
Man, I'll take that.
Right.
I've been called a lot worse.
Me too. So, but again, and I do, as you see from my resume, I race motorcycles, and there's a whole crew out there that has no idea I wear a suit during the day. And there's very few people in this industry. I'm doing a luxury seminar in Vegas, know that I jump on a motorcycle on the weekends, on a racetrack for fun. But so I think we keep that branding specific to the industry content. And then I always like to say for the consumer, what I see from the consumer is the higher quality the piece, and we do about 4.5 million pieces a year, the higher quality the piece, the better their perception of the person that sent it to them, which is pretty common sense.
Right.
But so many people in our industry don't get that. And they'll have an assistant do it or a secretary do it, or I don't think they use secretaries anymore. Assistant, personal assistant, right? So I think that's the biggest message. I would say, your consumers probably work for other companies as well. Everything you mail has a direct effect on the consumer's perception of you, your company, your quality, right? Who you are as a person. And I think that so many people miss that. In our industry, I see so many people buy really nice cars. And I always ask them, I said, what's the reason for the new BMW? They said, well, it's first impression. I said, well, how did you get that appointment if you didn't know them? And if you knew them, they already knew what you drove, right? So it's usually that direct mail piece. And for us, and we have, the best agents in almost every city in the country are our clients.
Well, you got an insane resume, and a lot of stories that you can share. But I think what's so fascinating about you, David, is how much you faced these life challenges and been able to overcome them. And some that you say a lot of people have it worse than you. You had it pretty rough in many of these stories. If you're going to give advice just on overcoming adversity to someone tuned in on personally and professionally, what's one piece of advice you would give?
I think one of the biggest things for me was somebody one day said to me, I think that people that go through drama and adversity have a tendency to repeat it. So they tell the story over and over again out in public or new people that they meet. And it's my personal opinion, and I'm not a psychologist, is when I did that, what I was looking for was approval from those particular people, because I certainly didn't get it based on all this behavior that happened to me prior to that. And what I realized was once I disclosed those stories to get that approval, that relationship was pretty much ended. Right? Because now I changed their perception of me. I got the instant gratification of approval, but long term, some of those things can get held against you, and they will, especially in an intimate relationship, those things will come back and haunt you. So my wife of current knows a lot of what went on. She doesn't know the details, and I'm not going to share those with her. I think so. for stop telling the story for starters is a really, really good one. I think the next thing is that if we look at probably Tony Robbins, I've been a member of his organization for a long time, speaking in both as a participant. And he said, David, to me one day, he goes, David, I want you to think of all my resume. I want you to think of how did you run 42 marathons? How did you win the Disney Marathon as an ex-smoker? I mean, how did you do these things? And could you have done them? Or weren't those traits that you got as your survival skills? How do you run a marathon after being a smoker at 6-minute pace for 26 miles, right? Where's that determination come from? Where's that fortitude come from? It comes from enduring that abuse. So there's an attribute. Now, I'm not saying any of those people are right, and I'm not giving them credit for it. Let's be straight about that. But I do look back at it and go, okay, what were the good things I picked up? Where do I get that perseverance? Why do I work, my wife says I'm the hardest working person she's ever met, and she's 55, so she's been around for a while. I think that there's a lot you can do. Kill the drama, and I do classes on workplace culture. Absolutely kill the drama.
Awesome. There it is. Kill the Drama. David Collins, Real Marketing. Your documentary is called?
It's called Before the Run, Broken Not Shattered, and it won't be released until after Sundance. It's at Sundance for review right now.
Awesome. Good luck with it. All right, more of the American Dream coming up next.